Alright, hello guys, how's it going? In today's video, we're going to be talking about both of those upcoming snowstorms. Now, before I get started with this video though, I would ask that you do subscribe if you do like weather-related content, and also make sure to share this video with your friends, family, and social media. Now, I would also highly recommend that you check out our very exciting Patreon page in the description and in the pinned comment down below. Anyways, for today's comment of the day, I have a difficult question that I would have trouble even answering. With that second snowstorm, how much do you think is the maximum amount of snowfall anyone sees? Let me know in the comments down below, and I'll be picking one of those for tomorrow's video. Let's get straight into this video, and guys, the interesting thing here is our second storm has slipped away from us overnight. That's why I had a confidence tab of 2, because there was so much uncertainty here, but I did not expect this big of a trend away from a snowstorm to occur. And this is honestly one of the worst I've ever seen performances from the models. Let's just take a look at the GFS from yesterday morning. Before I made yesterday's video, this is what the models looked like for that second storm. Tons and tons of snow for the mid-Atlantic. And then by the time we reached the very next run at about 8 a.m. yesterday, it looked still pretty major, you know. It slipped away a little bit, but still pretty major. And then by the time it was 18Z yesterday, which is about the afternoon, evening run, it was looking even worse. And then this was last night's model run, so at about 8 p.m. this one comes out, and then this is this morning's run, so you can tell that this snowstorm has completely slipped away. There is a general 3 to 6 inches expected for the mountainous regions of the Appalachian mountain range. But outside of that, I mean, just some light snowfall. We're going to talk more about that later on, but I'm obviously going to talk about the first snowstorm a lot in this video because there's nothing notable to really mention about the second snowstorm other than the fact that it has completely slipped away. Now, what we're going to do here is we're going to move on, take a look at the Canadian model in just a moment. Alright, so here was 2 mornings ago on the 23rd for the Canadian model. Tons of snowfall. That night it showed even more. And then as of yesterday morning, it kind of slipped away a little bit, but still a lot of snowfall going on. And then as of last night, look at how it just jumped to practically nothing like that. Absolutely crazy how fast this snowstorm has just slipped away. One of the biggest failures by the models so far, and even if it comes back, it'll still be one of the biggest failures because they're all over the place, which I consider still a failure. Shocking to see the models fail to this extent this close to the storm, and that's why we had that confidence tab of 3, and I think I said 2, but what's interesting is you'll see at the end of this video a little sneak peek here. I've downgraded to a 2 from a 3 just because of how volatile these models have been, and I think that's a very, very smart move at this point. All right, now what we're going to do here is we're going to move on and start talking about that first snowstorm on our very high resolution NAM 3KM model. Take a look at what that has to say about that. All right, so here we are taking a look at about this morning, and as you can see, there is some snowfall starting out for Colorado, Kansas, Nebraska, with some freezing rain going on for Kansas and Oklahoma in certain regions, as you can see. As we move towards about, I would say this is probably about 8 p.m. there on Tuesday, and as you can see, we do see that moderate to heavy snowfall now going on for Kansas, Nebraska, Iowa, Missouri, and this is to be expected. We've seen this coming for quite a while now, for sure. Freezing rain for the Ohio Valley. And then as you can see, we kind of switch over to more light to moderate as it kind of just weakens and loses some of that potency as it moves eastward. We've been talking about that for a few days, that's expected to happen. Let's take a jump eastward. And again, this is probably about 6 a.m. there on Tuesday. And as you can see, tons of freezing rain going on for Ohio, Pennsylvania, Virginia, Maryland. I still think an ice storm is certainly possible with that, just considering the amount of ice going on for those regions. Northern Pennsylvania seeing some light to moderate snowfall at this point. Same story with southern Michigan, northern Indiana, northern Illinois there. The good thing with this first storm is we haven't seen any major shifts, so I'm kind of proud of the models with that. They've done a nice job of not really shifting around too much with that first storm, and quite frankly, their handle on that first one is actually just good in general. It's the second one where it just was a complete failure. Let's just go ahead and move this towards about later in that afternoon on Tuesday. I'd say this is probably approximately 3 p.m. or so. And as you can see, we see some light to moderate snowfall still going on for the upper Midwest there, and then also portions of the Great Lakes. But now especially in through New York, down in through portions of New England especially, we do see that moderate to heavy snowfall going on. Definitely some lake enhancement going on, with which, if you don't know what that means, it's basically lake effect snow with a storm already moving over it. So it's kind of just adding to what's already happening as is. So it's not purely lake effect, it's kind of just both going on. And then we close out with some snow showers at about 4 a.m. there on Wednesday, January 27th. And you can see that second storm rolling in actually by the time we reach about 1 p.m. there on Wednesday. Tons of rainfall going on for the southeast. We're going to take a little bit of a look at that second snowstorm in just a moment. Once again on the GFS model, compare what it was calling for yesterday morning and then this morning. It's shocking, guys. It's actually shocking. All right, so here we are taking a look at I keep saying last like I want to say last night, but this was yesterday morning's model run at about 2 a.m. or so, maybe 1 a.m. there on yesterday morning, obviously. And as you can see, we had moderate to heavy snowfall expected for the mid-Atlantic there with a 978 millibar low pressure center hugging the coast basically right off the Delmarva or right off of southeastern Virginia. And then let's take a look at what it's calling for this morning. And it shifted hundreds of miles eastward basically in a matter of 24 hours. And we see no snowfall anywhere basically in the eastern United States with the exception of maybe some flurries for multiple regions. Outside of that, pretty much nothing. So again, just completely shocking to see this switch of what the model was calling for. I mean, absolutely just a failure from the models. It's very rare to see a failure to this degree. I remember there was a massive snowstorm maybe like 5 years ago for the Northeast where Pennsylvania, you guys might be able to correct me on this, you might know exactly which storm it is, but eastern Pennsylvania, including Philadelphia up through northern New Jersey, was expecting a blizzard. They actually had blizzard warnings, and they got maybe like 3 inches of snow, and it mostly went up into New England. That might have even been Winter Storm Nemo. That was years ago, but yeah, let me know if you guys know what storm that was, but it completely busted for the eastern regions of Pennsylvania and then New Jersey. That's the only example I can think of that was, a failure to this degree. They do happen. It's just not very common. All right, now what we're going to do here is we're going to move on and take a look at the snowfall totals for the first and the second snowstorm on all of those models. We're going to get into the freezing ranges, talk about how much could be expected, and then we're going to get into my official final snowfall forecast for that first snowstorm. I'm feeling very confident in that. We're going to talk about the confidence tabs, and then we're going to close out the video. So here's the GFS model, and as you can see, this is by about, I would say 1 or 2 a.m. there on Friday, January 29th. As you can see, in those blue shades, we're expecting 2 to 6 inches of snow. If you're in the grays, you're expecting a dusting, if anything. Within those purple shades, you're expecting 6 to 10 inches of snow. And then within the pink regions, you're expecting 10 inches plus, even possibly up to 15 inches plus. I'm eyeballing the potential for those types of amounts here. And then as we move on to that European model, it's a little higher resolution, but as you can see for the eastern United States, it has far less snowfall, but it does have the same amounts, maybe a bit more there for the kind of Great Plains, Midwest region there. I'm feeling very good about you guys in Nebraska, Kansas, Iowa, Missouri getting plenty of snowfall there. And then as we move on towards that Canadian model, you can see it's strikingly similar to that European model, almost the same basically. It does have a little bit more up there for upstate New York, a little bit less for Chicago, but really generally very, very close to being a similar call. Maybe a bit further north as well. Here's that freezing rain we mentioned, and I'm going to take this with a grain of salt. The National Weather Service thinks there's going to be a little bit less than what the models are calling for. I think we're going to get maximum a half an inch, maybe a bit more for some of these deeper pink regions, especially I'm eyeballing West Virginia, Maryland, Pennsylvania, and Virginia. I think that's kind of the bullseye for that ice, but there is some potential there for the Ohio Valley as well to see some freezing rain. Again, probably a maximum of half an inch or just a bit more. Let's call it 0.6 inches of ice would be my maximum at this point. Let's get into my official snowfall forecast for that first snowstorm. If you're anywhere in this white region, you're expecting a dusting to 3 inches of snow. If you're anywhere in this light blue region, you're expecting 3 to 6 inches of snow. If you're anywhere in this dark blue, you're expecting 6 to 10 inches of snow. You can see there's 2 regions. I have one up there for upstate New York, and then one there, obviously further west. Then we have that magenta shade, and that's where we're expecting 10 to 15 inches of snow. This has pretty much not even moved in the past 4 days. I actually am very happy with how our initial forecast for this storm has gone because I've hardly made any changes. I've completely redrawn the map every single time, but it always comes out the same. I always do that. I don't like to just sample off of what I've already done. I like to completely remake it. I found that helps me just come up with original thoughts that day and just be a little bit more accurate with the updated information. And then we even have a 15-inch plus region. I do think that's possible. I wouldn't say it's necessarily likely. I'd say it's maybe like just above 50% chance of seeing 15 inches plus. But the Canadian model, the European model do think that there is that good chance for, 15 inches plus. So I want to throw that in there. We could get that amount, but, it could just be 10 to 15, which in that case would still be a significant amount of snow either way. So I'm pretty sure nobody's going to be upset either way. Anyway, our confidence for the first storm, we're at a high. We've reached our first 6 out of 6 confidence. This is about as high of a confidence you can have in a storm at this point. We're already underway. It's just starting out. It has a clear path eastward. I'm feeling very confident in this storm. All the models feel the same. So that's an example of just feeling very, very confident in what you're calling for there. And then with that the second storm, we've lowered to a 2. We were at a 3. We've already lowered to a 2 because the models have proven to be so volatile with the amounts. I wouldn't even be surprised if the amounts come back up a little bit over the next 2 days that we have. So yeah, I mean, a west-northwest trend is always a likelihood in this type of an event, so my confidence is lowering in what we're seeing right now. I think we could see an increase, even less snowfall even, so they're really just jumping all over the place, which is never a good thing, obviously. Anyway, for today's comment of the day, I asked you guys, which of the 2 snowstorms do you think will be the most major? And it's pretty obvious at this point. Yesterday, I embarrassingly said I think the second one could be more major. That has obviously come back to bite me very quickly. I completely regret and take back that statement. But Teresa said, I think the Midwest storm will be far worse than the nor'easter, which is very clear at this point, unless there is an absolutely, it would be even more of a failure at this point if the models showed something major all of a sudden overnight. That would be shocking, to say the least. Anyway, for today's patron highlight of the day, I'm going to thank you all for supporting the channel, but especially our platinum patrons: Sebastian Tao, John Benbenick, James Wade, Dovi Nagel, Alan Belemo, Adam S., Larry Lepan, Donna Carnes, Cameron Marshall, and Aidan Mattis, alongside our diamond patrons: Bill Roberts, Alan Cherry, Marcus Connolly, Noah Harley, Michael Codalessa, Michael Buell, Terry Curtis, Catbite, Charles Stinnett, Kellen Manhart, It's Jay, Cindy Klein, Alicia Davis, Mark J., Luke Falego, Gary's, and John Quilisi. If you'd like to be on this Patreon end screen of the day, you can do so by joining our very exciting Patreon page in the description and in the pinned comments down below. Anyway, guys, thank you so much for watching this video. Again, be sure to share it with your friends, family, and social media. I will see you guys in the next video.